Hi and welcome to the Java video bootcamp. This is our third video. In the last video, we have discussed about how Java is a platform independent language and how does the program gets compiled and interpreted. So up till now, we have just understood the basic idea how to write a program. In today's video, we are going to talk about the variables and data types. Let's go to our code editor. And here you can see I have opened up a marketplace extension list. Now, why we are searching for these extensions. Now, if you look at this code, you would find that there is a run label or button, you can say, or a link. So this is not actually the code written by you. Your editor is identifying that this is a Java code. And if I click on this run, it will execute this code, right? If it is getting the Java path from your system. And apart from that, it is also recognizing that there is some argument or parameter you are providing to this method. We will discuss about the parameters arguments later. So if you want to do your Java development a bit faster and you can identify errors, etc. You want your editor to identify errors, etc. Highlight your code, identify your code. So you can use this extension pack for Java. So to go to this, you can, like if you open up your VS Code, it will appear like this. You can find an icon on the left sidebar, the fifth icon. It is extensions. You can also use the shortcut Control-Shift-X if you're on Windows system. Not on the Mac. Mac would have a command option X. So you can click on this extension and it will not appear directly as Java. It would be appearing the installed ones and the recommended ones. I'll search for Java. And once you search for Java, you will get the list of extensions. The one I have already installed is also displayed. The one it is recommending to install are here. So now the first one, if you see, it is extension pack for Java. It is a complete pack of 6 plugins. So all would not be required at this level. Slowly and gradually as we proceed with our course, we will find the use of them. So you can go and install it, right? So if you click on this extension pack for Java, you have to click on install button and that's all. VS Code will do rest of the work. And we don't have to actually run this plugin. It will be automatically identifying your code. Whenever you are writing your Java code, you save the Java file, it will identify that this is the Java code here. You need to close the parentheses, right? If it is missing. And later on, when we are going to debug our code, then this plugin would be very helpful. Second, now in the last video, when we wrote the program for the compilation, we opened up our terminal, right? So you don't have to switch to this terminal. What you can do is there is an inbuilt terminal in VS Code. So you can see the top menu bar. Here it is written terminal. You can open up a new terminal. And here it appears as the terminal. It is integrated in VS Code. We don't have to open up the separate terminal for it. So next, I need to, let's go and run this program first, right, in the terminal. So first of all, we have to switch to this directory. So right now my terminal is on Java folder, in Java folder. So I have to go to the session 1 folder. So now in the session 1 folder, I can go and run the Java C command, compile my hello world file. Compilation is good. And then Java hello world. And here you can see the output. Okay, let's clear this terminal. Okay, I'll close this program now. Let's take a new folder. I'll call it as session 03. And in this, I'm going to create a new file. I'll call it as a readme file. Okay, I'll write the notes over here and we will require one program file also. So let's understand what we are going to do today. We are going to talk about variable and data types. What is a variable? If I say variable means something which can vary, right? A value which can vary. So suppose if I'm going to ask a user to think about a number, right? Let's say I ask a user A, think a number. He can think some number like, let's say 20. If I go to the user 2, user A or B, so now if I say, okay, you think a number or you tell a number, then he would be saying some other number, might be same, might be different, right? So when the value varies, we call it as a variable value, right? The value which are changing. Now when I'm writing up a program, the main purpose of writing a program is to gather the data, process it, and give some output. For example, calculator. You give the input as a number, right? You ask the process to do some addition, you supply another number. So input is 2 numbers. Now calculator need to keep this number somewhere in the storage, right? It needs to keep the value inside the storage to process it later. And that storage is called as a variable. Okay, so variable can be defined as the storage. So if I say what is a variable? Storage, to store the value, memory storage. So where actually it is storing the value? In the memory, right? Whenever you are running your program, the program will execute in the primary memory, that is your RAM. So some part of the RAM would be allocated to your program. Out of that allocated memory, some part which you are going to say, okay, I want a number. So it will provide some value, some memory to your variable. Okay, so now depending on the type of the value that you need from the user, you have to declare the memory allotment. So let's say I want a very small number, like I just need a number from 1 to 128. I'm saying a user, okay, think a number between 1 to 128. So if I want to store this number, I would require very less amount of memory, right? If I say I want to capture a number which is very large, let's say like this. So I'm saying I have to capture a number which is more than 99999 to, let's say, this much big. So now if I'm saying I have to take such a big number, I need more memory to store this, right? Now one can think like this is just a number, whether it is 1 or 128 or 9999 or 3 times 9 and 3 times 9, like 6 times 9. So whatever number we are going to take, it's just a number, but actually it is not, because this number will be stored inside the memory in the form of bits, zeros and ones. Okay, so computer can only understand 0 and 1. This is very much we are aware of. So now this value needs to be converted into binary form. So when you are taking a smaller number, we might require lesser number of bits. But when I'm going to take a very large number, I would require more number of bits to convert that number into the binary form. Okay, so for example, I'm just giving a representation that if I say I have a number 001, I can consider it as a number 1 value. Then if I say I'm going to make up a number, this can be a bigger number, right? So I'm just telling that 4 and 4. Okay, so 12-bit, and I'll convert it into a 16-bit, right? So this is a 16-bit number. So here we are writing up a 8-bit number, 8-bit number and 16-bit number. So now try to understand this way. 8-bit is a smaller storage. 16 bits, like 16 boxes would be required. Think your bits as a box. For now, let's think that bit is a box. Whether I'm going to store a 0 or 1, I need 1 box, right? So here I need 8 boxes. Here I want to save a bigger number. I need 16 boxes. So that means the number size, the memory size can depend on the value of the number, right? So now we need to tell Java, we need to tell our Java that, okay, I want to save a number which can be of 16 bits. I have to save a number, sorry, not 16 bit. I'm just giving a reference over here, which can be of 16 bits or 32 bits, right? So that way Java will tell that, okay, you want to declare a number of this size, fine, I'm giving you a set of data types, right? Java is very strict about the memory management. It is going to check the value. It is going to check the value. Whenever you are going to save a value inside the variable, it will check that have you made a declaration earlier, right? So it is very strict with the type checking. So let's say I'm telling Java that I want to save a integer number, right? Integer number. So Java is going to give me a data type and the type is int, right? Type is int, and I'm going to declare a number. Now this can have a range of value. If I want to save a value inside this variable, this num is going to be a variable, and the value I'm going to save inside this is of int type, right? I can only store a int type of value. Int means integer. I can only store an integer value inside this, right? In Java, just a small note over here, in Java, integer is actually a separate class, but I am not referring to that class right now. I'm just talking kind of bit very simple meaning that int stands is for integer. So don't refer to that integer class. If anyone is aware of that integer class, we are not referring to that integer class right now. So int integer number. I can store an integer number inside the num. So when I am saying int num, I am telling Java that, okay, create some memory, right? Allocate some memory and give it a user-friendly name, num. Why I am giving a user-friendly name? Because it is very tough for me to remember the actual address of that memory, right? Java would be allocating some memory inside the RAM. That, okay, now this is the memory. Now the address of that memory can be very complex. I don't want to refer to that address. I want to make it very easy. So internally Java is saying that, okay, give me a name num, and it is going to map this num with the address of the memory. So that makes it very simple. When the next time I want to fetch the value from that memory location, I have to simply call num. That's all. So when I am saying int num, what actually int is a data type. What actually num is a variable, right? So we can define num is a variable with int data type. Okay, num can store integer values. Now I'm putting more stress on integer. What other values are there? When I say integer, that means I can only save the whole numbers inside the num variable. I cannot save a decimal value, right? Num cannot save the decimal values. Very simple. So whenever you're talking about the data type, Java is having a strict type check property. You can see over here, if I am saying num is of int data type, I can only store the integer values, but I cannot store the decimal values. And if I want to save the decimal values, I would have to go and tell double. I'm going to take a new data type, and then let's declare up a variable num2. Okay, this is actually not the way of declaration. This is just I'm explaining to you guys. So int data type num variable, and then num is a variable with integer data type. So what is actually happening over here? So num2 is variable with double data type. So what can we store over here? Num2 can store decimal values, right? But it can also store the integer numbers. Okay, integer number. Now one can ask a question over here that int can store the integer values but cannot store the decimal values. How can a double store the decimal values but it is also storing the integer numbers? The reason is because double can be considered a bigger data type, right? Think it like this way. You have a value, right? A smaller box. Think it as a smaller box. It's storing small values. I have a big box. So big box can save the big values, but also it can save the small values also, right? So now how can I create a variable to save a value inside my program? How are we going to create a variable? Let's see the example for the variables and data types. So I'm going to create a class. I'll call it as variable demo.java. Okay, remove this package. If it generates at your practice time also, remove that. We will discuss about the packages in the packages lesson. So right now I have a public class variable demo, and what do we need inside the variable demo class? Our main method, public static void main string arguments. So this is my main method. Okay, public static void main string arguments. You have to always write your main method like this. Now if you have a question that why are we writing the main method always like public static void, so for that we would have to learn what is a static, what is public. But right now I will say, since this is very initial class, I am telling you to learn what is a main method. Main method has the definition public static void main. Okay, so we will not discuss about main method right now. We are only talking about variables. So come back to the variables. Int I is equal to 10. So what are you doing over here? You are saying, okay, let's reduce that equals to 10. Let's put it like this, int I. So I am telling Java, create a variable, right, with name I and type int, right? This is very important point. Whenever you are going to talk about variable, you should be aware that what is a variable name and what is its type, right? I have seen students when I ask them, okay, let's say I have made a very complex program somewhere, and then I ask them very simple question, that what is variable I? What type of variable is I, right? Then they get confused. They will tell like, okay, this is a variable or something constant or something else, which is very simple question. What type of variable is I? It's int. If I say, okay, what is variable here? So don't say int is a variable. Int is not a variable. Int is a data type, right? I is a variable. So I is mapping to the memory allotted by the system in the RAM, right? So Java, when you are running this program, Java will allocate some memory, right? And you can store some number inside that. You cannot store anything else. You cannot store hello, or you cannot store, let's say, name of some person. You cannot store anything else than integer value. Okay. So this has created a variable. Now I want to assign some value to the variable. So what is my variable name? I. When you want to assign a value to the variable, you are going to put equals to symbol, and then let's put a value 10. So what is the value you are assigning? I. Sorry, 10. Value assigned is 10. And whom are you assigning the value? You are assigning it to the I variable. Okay. So this equal symbol is not checking the equality. It's assigning it, right? Remember that. So here, assignment operator. You understood a new thing? Assignment operator. It's going to assign the value from right to left. So right side we have value 10, left side we have variable I. So 10 is assigned to variable I. 10 is assigned to variable I. Now if you have a question that what can be the range of value I can put inside this, it's a big range, right? Don't worry about that range right now. I'll share a complete table. In the next video we will understand that what are the different type of int data types. Suppose I want to take a very small range of value. Why should I spend so much of memory? I want to take a very big range of value, right? Then int is not enough. So today we are only going to talk about two things: variable data type definition understanding, and second, int and the double data types, right? So I have created a variable int I is equal to 10. Can I create more than one variables? Yes, you can create hundreds of variables, thousands of variables. We don't have any limit on creating the variables, but we have to always think that these variables are going to create in the memory, right? So if you have enough memory to handle all the variables, it is good. You can create any number of variables. But let's suppose if you have a very less memory system, or your program is going to run on a very low memory system, then you have to always take care for the variable initializations, variable creation, right? But this point which I have just told about, like low memory and high memory and the number of the variables, I don't think so in your training programs you will ever think of creating like thousands of variables, right? In training programs we are going to create few variables. In projects, micro projects that we will build, we'll create some variables. But when you go to like let's say in your job, you do create a projects, then you have enough understanding to create that many number of variables. Okay, why do we create variables? We are going to create the variables to store some value. Okay, so I have stored a value I is equal to 10. Let's take up another variable of data type double, and I'll call it as a dnum. Okay, dnum double number. So what is double data type? Double data type is going to allow you to save the decimal value, right? So let's say dnum is declared, and now I say dnum equals to 3.6. See, it's a very small number. I am storing 10 in my integer variable. So now you can think of that, can't we save 3.6 inside int type? No. Int type is only going to handle the integer values, right? And double is going to handle the decimal values. So because of this precision, it is going to be saved inside the double only. You cannot put it inside int type. Okay. Now let's say I have saved some data inside the variables. Now I want to fetch it back. So this 10 is saved inside the memory somewhere, 3.6 is saved inside the memory somewhere. So how can I pull it back? How can I fetch it back? So I can fetch it back by writing the variable name dnum, and then I can write a I variable, right? So I don't have to refer to the address of the memory. I can simply say, okay, I want to fetch that variable value from that variable. Fine, write the name. So refer to your previous program. There, when we were putting up some printing inside the system.out.println, we had put the double quotes mark, right? But here you are not going to use the double quotation. The reason is this is a variable. Variables will not come in the double quotations, else they will become a string. When you are saying dnum, Java will look, is there a variable declared with this? Yes. If it is going to print the value from it. I'll give you a small example. Suppose you go and write system.out.println num. So I'm writing a num value. Now num will not be recognized. The reason is you don't have a variable declared as num, right? So as soon as you put a value as any text without double quotation, Java will consider it as a variable. And since that variable is not declared, as I said, Java is very strict type check language. So it is going to check whether it is declared or not. And if it is declared, what is its type, right? So since it is not declared, it will throw an error. And you can see it's still showing us a red error line. Can you see this? If I take my mouse pointer here, it says num cannot be resolved to a variable. It is not identifying it as a variable. Let's remove it. So this looks good. We have declared two type of variables. One is int, another one is double. Double is going to store decimal value. Int is going to store integer value. Let's save this and we are going to compile it. For this, I need to go to the session 3, compile my program, and class name is variable demo. But when I'm going to execute, the compilation, when I'm going to compile, I need to give the file name. File name and class name are same because my class is public class. So let's run this. Java variable demo. So now you can see the output. It's running top to bottom, right? It has declared a variable I, assigned a value 10, declared a variable dnum, assigned a value 3.6. Then I'm using dnum to be displayed. Remember, your I is not destroyed. It is still there. The life of your variables will be from the starting parenthesis to ending parenthesis. I can use these variables anywhere between these two parentheses. Okay, but I cannot use them here outside the parenthesis. So remember, your variable, if declared inside a block, consider it as a block. Think it as a block. Okay, so whenever you are creating up a variable inside a block or inside a method, inside a main method or any method, right, you can only use it between those two parentheses. You cannot bring them outside the parentheses. We cannot call it outside the parentheses, right? So at this level, when I'm creating a method whenever I'm creating a variable inside a method, I can use it only inside the method. So int I is declared, I can use it only up till here, not outside this. So if I go and use outside here, it will give me error. See, print line I. It will not recognize it. It will say there is some error. Okay, it will get some error. So let's remove this. So very simple topic today. Variables, data type. Variables are used to store some data. And since Java is a strict type check language, it is saying that, okay, if you are going to store some value, you have to first declare its type. So first we will declare our variables with a type, and then we can assign the value. Now, if I want, I can use a shortcut over here, which you will use always in your programming, because we are very initial. I am trying to explain you what is a variable declaration and then what is assignment. So if I want to combine both the statements, I can simply say double dnum is equal to 3.6. So this way I don't have to declare separately and then initialize separately. Okay, I can do it together also. So now here you see you have declared a variable and you are using it later. You have declared a variable and you have used it immediately. And remember, once a variable is assigned a value, you can change that value also. Now suppose later I want to change the value of I to, let's say, 30. It's okay. That is why they are called as variable. You can always set a new value to the variable. So I'm setting the value I equals to 30. Okay, I'm not comparing it, I'm assigning it. I'm again assigning a value 30 to the variable I. So next time when I'm going to print it, what actually will be the value? Dnum 3.6, I 30. Okay, let's quickly compile it because we have made the changes. Clear our screen and run the output. So here you can see output is 3.6 and 30. Now if anyone is again having confusion, why 30? We have created a variable I with 10. Variables are varying their value, right? You can change the value of variables. So after, let's say in some part of the program, the value of I is changing. It is initialized again to 30 or reassigned a value. So that value will be updated. 10 will be removed, 30 would be updated, right? Great. So I hope everyone understands the concept of variables and the data types. I have tried to make it descriptive because it is very initial. People who do not have any programming experience, they can easily understand this now, variables and the data types. I have only discussed about the two data type, int and double. In our next video, we'll talk about the different type of int data types, different type of double data types, character data type, right? And the string data type. String class actually, Boolean data type. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you everyone. Please share this video, subscribe the channel. We'll be bringing up a lot of videos on this channel soon. Thank you again. Bye bye.